800-525-7000. Stick around.
I'm Dr. Ray Rooney. The mission of American Family Association is to inform, equip, and activate individuals and families to strengthen the moral foundations of American culture and give aid to the church here and abroad in its task of fulfilling the Great Commission. AFA aims to evangelize the lost and disciple the believer.
Thank you for standing with the American Family Association as we seek to stop the erosion of godly values. Healthcare is complicated. It doesn't have to be. If you don't love how your health insurance works, maybe it's time to leave traditional health insurance behind. Take charge of your healthcare with Christian Healthcare Ministries. CHM offers you flexibility. Enroll anytime. Choose your own provider and select the program that fits your needs and budget. CHM is the original faith-based way of taking care of your medical bill costs. Learn more at chministries.org/faithbond.
お父さんにいい時計をオーダーしといて、いい時計をオーダーしといたから。
これ
うん
検事のところの息子が2人が金を貯めてプレゼントしてくれたんで。
ああ、
丈夫だよこれ。
丈夫。サウナに使えるね。もうそろそろそれもバンドが古くなってきてる。
そんなら10年ぐらい持つよ時計は。今が。
It's one of the most popular and effective ways to give. You'd simply connect with one of your advisors who would help you include language in your will or trust to include a specific gift to the American Family Association. If you'd like to learn more or connect with an advisor who can help you with that, just go to afafoundation.net.
Are you a financial professional looking to grow your practice while offering advice that aligns with your Christian values? By becoming a certified Kingdom Advisor, you'll gain the biblical wisdom and professional credibility to serve clients who are seeking faith-based financial guidance. Each year, more than 75,000 people search for a certified Kingdom Advisor. Join our community and share your expertise with clients looking for someone who shares their faith and values. Start your journey today by going to kingdomadvisors.com/get-certified.
So glad to have you with us today on Faith and Finance here at American Family Radio. I'm Rob West. Really looking forward to taking your calls and questions today. Now is the time to call with any financial question on your mind. That number 800-525-7000. Lines are open. The team is standing by. We just need you. 800-525-7000. What a treat to have Cody Hobelman with us today. You know, this idea of a finish line is so key because so often as our standard of living increases, we spend more. You know, you will always spend to the level of your income unless you protest to the contrary. But this idea of a finish line says, no, what if rather than just automatically raising my standard of living, my standard of living, what if instead I choose to raise my standard of giving? You know, what if I were to say, you know what, there is a cap on the amount I'm going to spend on myself in terms of my lifestyle spending. And in addition to that, there's a cap on how much I'm ultimately going to accumulate. You know, if God continues to provide more over time, do I just mindlessly accumulate more and more? No, I think there is a finish line that you can thoughtfully arrive at between you and the Lord. And if you have a certified Kingdom Advisor, your advisor would be a key part in that journey, where if you're married, you and your spouse, or if you're single, you and the Lord together would really make this commitment. And where I've seen that incredibly powerful is especially folks who are just starting a business, and say, you know what, I'm going to give this business on the front end to the Lord, and here's how much income I'm going to cap out at, and here's how much accumulation I'm going to cap out at. And I've seen some businesses, including, well, Alan Barnhart's a classic story of this with Barnhart Crane and Rigging. Hundreds of millions of dollars has gone into missions overseas because Alan, when he started Barnhart Crane and Rigging, said, you know what, here's our finish line. And it was actually a function of the median income where he lives. God bless that business. It's one of the biggest crane and rigging companies in the world. And that has resulted in, again, hundreds of millions of dollars being given away. Well, that doesn't happen unless you make that commitment along the way.
お父さん、お祈りお願いします。お祈りお願いします。
今から自分で行きます。今日も楽しいレッスンができることを願っています。今日も嫌なことはないように十分自分自身気をつけて行動していきたいと思っています。また週 S キロ見守ってください。
We need to answer how much is enough for me, or if you're married, for us. How much is enough for the kids? That's the inheritance conversation. And then what do I do with the rest? Meaning, how do I intentionally and strategically give it away? Those are three very important questions we need to wrestle through. Today is dealing with that first one. By the way, this article we've been referencing today is in Faithful Steward, or quarterly magazine that's just full of rich content to encourage you on your stewardship journey. It's beautifully designed. It comes out each quarter, and I think, you know, it's a great opportunity for you just to take a step back and really think about some key areas of your financial journey. If you'd like to receive that each quarter, just become a Faith Fi partner. We'll send you that along with each new study or devotional. We'll also give you pro access to the Faith Fi app, and you'll help us reach more people here at Faith Fi. Just go to faithfi.com and click give. We're going to dive into your questions here in just a moment, so now is the time to call 800-525-7000. First in the news today, market reaction to the U.S. airstrike over the weekend against Iran's nuclear facilities appears to be more calm than anxious. Analysts are describing the market's response as surprisingly subdued, thanks to pre-existing risk pricing and the fact that the strike occurred over the weekend. So far, stocks are holding fairly steady. Right now, we've got pretty much green across the board. The Dow Jones up 150 points, the S&P up about 30, the NASDAQ up 106. The best of the three major indexes at a little more than 0.5% higher. As you might expect, oil spiked, then settled, and that was buffered by global supply assurances. A lot still remains to be seen about what's going to come from the Strait of Hormuz, where so much of the oil of the world passes through. But the overall mood is cautious yet resilient, with investors shifting focus to Fed Chairman Jerome Powell's testimony before the House Financial Services Committee. That happens tomorrow, and then the Senate Banking Committee on Wednesday, rather than the conflict escalation. Powell is expected to defend the Fed's decision last week to keep interest rates unchanged, despite increasing pressure from President Trump. Markets are keenly watching for language that might hint at a July or September rate reduction. Some Fed governors saying that they're expecting that rate cut sooner rather than later, perhaps as soon as July. But the market will be watching closely the chairman's comments. All right, let's dive into your questions today. Call right now if you've got a question, 800-525-7000. We're going to begin in Nebraska today. Hi, Julie. Go ahead.
Hi, Rob. I have two teenagers. I have a Capital 360 account open for them that I contribute to, for both of that they contribute to. They have about $18,000 each. The 16-year-old has a summer job right now, and I have heard what Dave Ramsey says, that if you invest $100 a month from 25 to 65, you'll have over $1 million for retirement. I realize that has to be under the best market conditions and might not be true, but I'm just thinking, what if a person starts out at 16 instead of 25? Would you recommend a 16-year-old starting a Roth IRA, or should he just, should I open him his own Capital 360 account where he can just keep dumping money into it from his job as much as possible.
Yeah, boy, it's a great question, and it sounds like you've modeled some really wise financial decision making there. How much did you say he's already accumulated?
They have about 18,000 each.
Yeah, phenomenal. And what is the situation with regard to college? What are you planning there?
I think he's thinking we're probably going to be doing a trade school, and he will be responsible for that out of the 18,000. And he also, you know, is dreaming of a car because he's tired of driving our Toyota Camry, but
Yeah.
I don't know what'll happen with that.
I get it. No, that's great. All right, let's do this. This is a great question, great detail there. I've got to take a quick break. When we come back, I'll give you my thoughts on it. So, Julie, stay right there. We've got some lines open today, ready for your questions. Call right now, 800-525-7000. We'll be right back.
Faith and Finance is underwritten by certified Kingdom advisor Kevin Bruce with Align Investment Research, helping families across Collin County honor God by stewarding wealth with wisdom and purpose, because true peace of mind comes from aligning wealth with God's design. Learn more at align7.com or call 972-972-8465. 972-972-8465. Align is a registered investment advisor.
Strengthen Christ's church. And what should Christians expect when our culture drifts from biblical values? This week on Pathway to Victory, Dr. Robert Jeffress explains how spiritual gifts build up the body of Christ and prepares us for the challenging times ahead. Join us for the series Shine the Light, all this week on Pathway to Victory.
Weekday mornings at 6 Central on American Family Radio.
Faith and Finance is grateful for support from Sound Mind Investing. For more than 30 years, they've offered financial wisdom for living well. SMI provides step-by-step guidance for do-it-yourself investors, from those just getting started to those getting ready for retirement. More information, including a short video webinar on profit and peace of mind, no matter what's happening in the market, is available at soundmindinvesting.org.
We work, we earn, we save. But is that all there is? The book of Ecclesiastes gives us an entirely new perspective on money that impacts our day-to-day lives. Faith-Fi study, Wisdom Over Wealth, unpacks life-changing biblical truths about wealth, work, and contentment. This resource will help you grow in how you handle wealth by deepening your trust in God. Request your copy of the Wisdom Over Wealth study with your gift of $35 or more by going to faithfi.com/give.
When you hear this is American Family News.
You know what follows is the truth. Your news from a Christian perspective.
Hundreds of teachers are going to have to walk into that school building, and they're forced to swallow political ideology that in many cases violates their very faith and conscience.
If you miss it at the top of the hour, American Family News podcasts are available at afn.net. And sign up for our daily news brief at afn.net.
Feeling burdened by credit card debt? As faithful stewards, we are called to manage our finances wisely. Christian credit counselors can help with a debt management program that allows you to pay off debt up to 80% faster, while honoring your commitments with integrity. Don't let debt hold you back from the life God has planned for you. Take the first step toward peace and financial freedom today. Visit ChristianCreditCounselors.org. That's ChristianCreditCounselors.org.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
Great to have you with us today on Faith and Finance here on American Family Radio. We're taking your calls and questions for the remainder of the program. You're thinking about paying off debt, saving for the future, setting a financial finish line, or giving generously. Whatever it is that's going on in your financial life, you can call right now. That number, 800-525-7000. That's 800-525-7000. We'd love to hear from you today with any financial question. Before the break, we were talking to Julie in Nebraska. Her son is working a part-time job here in the summer. He's 16 years old. He's been putting quite a bit away. He's already accumulated in a high-yield savings account about $18,000, and she's wondering about him starting to sock some money away in a Roth IRA, which he can do, as long as he has earned income, he can put in up to the annual limit, as long as he doesn't exceed the total amount of earned income he has for the year. And certainly that limit, the cap, would be $7,000 for the year. I think that's a great option, Julie. I mean, I would kind of have two buckets that you're working on. So bucket one would be known expenses in the next 5 years. And so it sounds like for him, that's two things. One is the trade school. The second is the car purchase. And so, perhaps now that he's already gotten a great start on that, it would be behoove you and him for you all to quantify, if he's headed to trade school, what is that all-in price going to be? And if he's going to be responsible for that, it'd be good for him to know what that is. And then second, maybe begin to do some preliminary work on what that first car would be that, balances something that's reliable. He's not always breaking down, but realizing that this is his first car. And so he wants to, spend as little as possible. And given that he's already, on such a great track there, maybe he takes whatever he's got available beyond whatever, monthly expenses he's covering that he's responsible for out of his summer job. Maybe he divides it between the two, where he continues to fund, that short-term savings account specifically for the car and the trade school, realizing, when he needs to start spending down that money and making sure he's on track to fully fund it without debt. But then secondly, let's start taking advantage of the opportunity for compound growth. Because you're right, you mentioned, just the power of compound interest, and that's real. When we look at, where he could end up, when we look at the S&P 500, the 500 largest companies here in the United States, if you go back the last 50 years, let's say from 1975 to 2025, total return with dividends is around 11.6% annualized. When you kind of smooth it out and you look at it per year with all the massive ups and certainly the down years, and then you adjust for inflation, it'd be about 7.6%. When you go longer than that, you're going to see even over 75 or 100 years about the same thing. So that means even a little, change in that annual return does matter. But let's just run that out. From 16 to 65, if he were to put in $100 a month at a 7% annualized return, he'd have about $500,000 in there. At 8%, he would have $650,000, and at 10%, about $1.3 million. So you can quickly see how, with even just this modest amount, $1,200 a year, going into that Roth IRA, and that's not including what he's going to be doing in his 401k and the opportunities he's going to have potentially down the road to put even more on an annual basis, how he could have well over $1 million. Now, all that needs to be adjusted for inflation down the road and so forth, and we could talk about what that means. But I think the bottom line is compounding is a powerful force, even after adjusting for inflation. The key is starting early, being consistent, and staying invested. And so I think, the opportunity right now is for him to kind of balance out these real, what I'll call short-term needs, things in the next 5 years, alongside the desire to get started today in, putting money in the Roth IRA, which is going to grow tax-free and be incredibly powerful for him, given that there will be no taxes on it down the road. Does that all make sense, though?
Yes, that's great.
Okay, so I think the next step is where to open it, and you can open it at Fidelity or Schwab, both low cost, very reputable, both have great customer service. Go ahead.
I do have a Betterment account that I opened because you had recommend them. So yeah. I have a traditional and a Roth with Betterment. So can awesome. I can go ahead and open another one for him?
You sure can. Yeah, I believe they, you just have to confirm that they do allow, basically to be a custodial Roth. I'm not sure that they do at Betterment. Mm-hmm. You could check. Have you already looked at that?
No, I haven't. So who would you recommend if Betterment doesn't?
If Betterment doesn't offer for those who have not, reached 18, then I would look at either Schwab or Fidelity. If you're wanting a robo solution, probably Schwab. The Schwab Intelligent Portfolios are very good. Schwab has, about the best in terms of the amount of investment options that are available. I would say Fidelity is maybe slightly better just in terms of their website and their app, but both very good and would get very good reviews on customer service and so forth. So I think either Betterment or the Schwab Intelligent Portfolios would serve you well.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Hey, let me send you a gift. There's a resource that some friends of ours created from a ministry called Open Hands Finance. And basically, when they were at Taylor University, and shortly after graduation, they created this curriculum that uses podcasts, but then a workbook to basically unpack a biblical approach to financial planning. So everything from how do you put a spending plan in place, to the power of compounding, to the dangers of debt, to the importance of giving generously, but it's written for and produced for college age kids. And I assume with the maturity of your son, it'll be right in his sweet spot. So I'd love for you to give it to him as a gift and just let him work his way through this workbook. I think he'll have a lot of fun with it, but he'll learn a lot of practical things, and it's all through a biblical lens. Okay?
Sounds great. Thank
Awesome.
you so much.
You are welcome. Stay on the line. We'll get your information and send Open Hands Finance right out to you for you to pass along to your son. Taking your calls and questions today, the number to call, 800-525-7000. Again, that number, 800-525-7000. Whatever is on your mind today, going on in your financial life, we'd love to tackle it. Spending plans, debt repayment, saving for the future, giving generously, whatever it might be. We'd love to hear from you. Also, coming up in the next segment today, Bob Dahl stops by. We'll get Bob's take on the markets. We're shrugging off the attack on the Iran's nuclear facilities over the weekend, with pretty much every U.S. market index higher, at least at the moment. Oil, even though it's down, has stabilized, so we'll get Bob's take on what might be ahead just around the corner. Also, before we head to this break, let me celebrate something with you. I want to take a moment just to thank you all, the AFR listeners, for your support for Heart for Lebanon. So last week, we had Maylee Melky from Heart for Lebanon on the program to make a special plea for support, and you really came through. Now, Heart for Lebanon is the ministry that we picked here at Faith By this quarter between, through June the 30th to highlight, because we know that when you live as a faithful steward, one piece of that is you give generously. And so we take one ministry each quarter just to shine a light on them, doing some incredible work. And through your generosity and many others around the country, Heart for Lebanon achieved and exceeded its goal of reaching 500 at-risk young women and girls in Lebanon with resources and mentoring, and of course the gospel. It looks like we're going to be able to reach closer to 600. So a big thanks for all of your support. If you want to learn more, go to faithfi.com/Lebanon. We'll be right back.
Faith and Finance is underwritten by certified Kingdom advisor Kevin Bruce with Align Investment Research, helping families across Collin County honor God by stewarding wealth with wisdom and purpose. Because true peace of mind comes from aligning wealth with God's design. Learn more at align7.com or call 972-972-8465. 972-972-8465. Align is a registered investment advisor.
Big, the Giants are too big. We need to be like Joshua and Caleb and say, you know what, there are giants. This is a massive problem. When you have a nation that is ignorant of the principles that produce a free society, start where you can. It's the only way I know. It's a little bit at a time.
Join Walker Wildman and Rick Green as they tackle today's issues from a biblical and a constitutional perspective. At the Core, 1 p.m. Central weekdays on AFR.
We're grateful for support from Guidestone, whose diversified suite of investment solutions align with Christian values to create positive change in the world. More information is available at guidestonefunds.com/faith. Investing involves risk, including potential loss of principal. Carefully consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of Guidestone funds before investing. They're distributed by Foresight Funds Distributors, LLC, which is not an advisor, affiliate, or registered investment advisor, nor do they provide investment advice.
Jesus said, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Today, put your heart into something that makes an eternal impact. Heart for Lebanon is sharing the gospel and protecting girls from early marriage, child labor, and violence. Your gift of $114
$15 helps reach 3 at-risk girls with hope and a brighter future. Give generously. Text FAITH to 98656. That's FAITH to 98656. Or visit faithfi.com/Lebanon.
Great to have you with us today on Faith and Finance here on American Family Radio. In just a moment, we'll be talking to Bob Dahl. We'll get his weekly market update and a lot going on in the market. So I'm glad Bob is here today. We will have time for perhaps 1 to 2 more questions before we round out the program today. So if you have a financial question, anything going on in your financial life, call right now, get in the queue, and we'll try to tackle those before we finish our time today. The number 800-525-7000. Bob is CEO and Chief Investment Officer at Crossmark Global Investments. He's a leader in faith-based investing, and so is Crossmark Global. We're so thankful for his time each Monday. Bob, wow, a lot going on over the weekend with the attack on the Iran's nuclear facilities. The market shrugging that off and oil stabilizing as well. What do you make of this?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing after the events of the weekend. Of course, we had trouble in the markets at the end of last week as people were worried about what might happen. Of course, what happened was pretty dramatic, Rob, but I think the market's reaction is say, okay, the risk of or the uncertainty related to will the U.S. attack the nuclear facilities in Iran that only the U.S. has capability for, or will that not happen? Of course, that's behind us, and as you point out, the price of oil initially went up, but has retraced much of those steps. As the price of oil goes, so will go the market as it relates to the whole issue in the Middle East. The noise there politically, of course, it matters to the people who live there, but for the markets, it's the